While JMU is heading on up to the FBS level and moving on to the Sun Belt, they still had a historic performance from their starting quarterback in the 2021 season. That man being Cole Johnson, who finished this year with 3,779 passing yards to go along with 41 passing touchdowns. Cole Johnson hopped on today's FCS Football Podcast Spotlight interview. But before we get to that interview, I need to tell you about today's sponsors. First being Bet Online. And I know that there's less football to bet on, but there's still so much other action that you can get into, like NBA, college basketball, you name it. From score totals, player performance props, to where you can find the next fired head coach is going to land. BetOnline is that number one spot for all things betting, and especially NFL betting in 2022. And with the new year comes a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. And it's not just football, folks. BetOnline's basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC odds coverage is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline is your number one wagering destination. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports and to play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts. And I also have to tell you folks about our new sponsor, which is Masterworks. What I am going to say might shock you, but the greatest quarterback of all time is not just a GOAT on the field, he's a GOAT when it comes to investing too. He invests in stocks, crypto, and even art. Now you can invest like the GOAT with Masterworks. Masterworks is the investing platform that lets you buy shares representing an investment in art from icons like Picasso, Monet, and Warhol. And even greater, art price outpaced the S&P 500 by 164% from 1992 to 2021. In fact, early investors already received over 30% IRR 2020 and 2021 from the sale of two paintings. This is your opportunity to join the 300,000 other members and invest like a GOAT. Get priority access with their game day promo. Go to masterworks.com/believe, BLEAV. See important disclosures at masterworks.io/disclaimer. And now joining us for our next FCS football interview for the offseason is standout quarterback from this past season, JMU's Cole Johnson. Cole, you had a fantastic season this past year. You were a part of a team that was just on the door of possibly making it to another national championship game. We're going to get to talking about all the season stuff, but Sean, you wanted to address a strange connection that we had with Cole.
Yeah, we lived with Perry Schrader for a year in college, and it turns out that Cole, you went to high school, and I'm assuming played high school football with Perry. We got to pick your brain a little bit about that. I got to know how was he in high school? A normal guy,
Yeah, a really normal guy. Oh. I think I sat right behind him in calculus. And we did a lot of stuff together, so that's a great guy. I haven't seen him much since high school, but
we haven't seen him much since sophomore year of college. I don't know who we lived with the year after we lived with him. I had to separate two fights between him and Joe when we were living together. One over I don't know what. It was really odd. I didn't like having to do that. It was a weird bit. That was a weird cat. And I know you went to Cox, right?
Yeah, I went to Cox.
Yeah, that's a big high school down there. That's a pretty So it's impressive that you were able to, I guess, come out of there. And then for that, were you looking at any of the Virginia schools coming out of Southern Virginia, going to that high school?
I can't think of Virginia schools. I was kind of coming down to so my one FBS offer was Temple initially, and then I came down to JMU and Towson before I committed. Started my senior season, and then I originally got recruited by Everett Withers, which is 2 coaches ago for JMU. So he got the job at Texas State kind of right before signing day. And then we had Mike Houston come in 2016, and I kept with my commitment with JMU, obviously. But I wouldn't say, ODU was never really on me hard. None of the bigger schools in Virginia, UVA or VT, but
right.
More, obviously just JMU and some other FCS schools.
I have to assume you were pretty happy with that decision at the end of the day. Going to JMU.
Yeah, definitely looking back on it. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but a good decision I made.
Wait, so on that note, I think what's really interesting about your career path at JMU, you were behind Ben DiNucci, who got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. And I think a lot of times these days, and you were there at the same time that Sean and I were at Rhode Island when the transfer portal just randomly became a thing. And we see a lot of, especially quarterbacks, that decide to leave when they don't think that they're going to get on the field or they know that there's an older guy there. What was that like when you were behind Ben? Like, did you always think to yourself, like, at some point I'm going to take over and that JMU is where you wanted to stick?
Yeah, definitely. I think going into my junior season, before we announced kind of Ben was transferring, it was kind of down between me and a guy named Gage Maloney. Right after that, national championship loss, I think in 2017. And so that was kind of our mindset going into the spring. And then obviously having Ben come in and be an addition to our quarterback room, and competing with him. I thought it was so close. And, obviously he won the battle in 2018. And then we get a new coach in 2019 and kind of same story. I feel like I'm really close and I end up losing that quarterback battle. So I thought it was a great time to kind of improve my skills and improve myself as a player. Rather, the grass is always greener, people think, and transfer portal, but there's competition everywhere you go. There's competition from D1, D3, anywhere you go. So it's not like you're going to go somewhere where you're automatically going to start. So, I use those years to, really hone my skills and get better. And I'm glad I, made that decision to stay at JMU.
And you mentioned you lost that initial quarterback battle before you took over as the starter for James Madison. What happened in that period of time when you eventually took over? Was it an injury thing or was it a performance thing that they just thought that you were the guy to go on from there?
Which year are you talking about?
You had just mentioned that you had lost the quarterback battle. Was that with Ben or was that with Gabe?
Yeah,
that
was both with Ben.
Okay.
And then in 2020, obviously we went to the spring season.
Okay.
So I started those games and then ended up, starting the 2021 season as well.
So you sticking it out for what seems like a decade in college football. I was there for 3.5 years. Joe was there for 4 years. I can't imagine staying for another 3. What were some of the things that kind of drove you to just keep on sticking it? I'm assuming it's definitely, starting quarterback, which is a pretty big deal. All eyes on you for a full season. Were there any other factors that went along with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. In 2019, I completed my undergraduate degree, and I knew I'd have a chance to start that next season. And it's definitely some tough times when you're kind of going into a 5th year, and then all of a sudden your season gets canceled, and then you kind of push. You figure, play one more season, and then it gets pushed off again. So I ended up playing in the spring, kind of thinking that'd be my last final season. And I kind of ended on a good note there. And I feel like I got better and better as that season went on, as I was able to make more starts. And then we had a tough loss in the FCS semifinals that year to Sam Houston. And so then with the help of my teammates and coaches, I ended up, making that decision to come back for a 6th year, which obviously being in college for 6 years is a long time, but I was able to get a certificate degree as well, graduate certificate degree. And I was able to work part-time and kind of the financial field, which I've always kind of had a passion for. So I wouldn't say it was completely useless being in college for 6 years, and it's kind of paid off and it led me a lot of opportunities now. But it's definitely feels like I was an old guy being 23 years old on a football team.
Right.
Right. Go ahead, Sean. What do you got?
I was gonna say I wouldn't feel so self-conscious. We had a 25-year-old on our team 1 year. It was like, wow.
When Zoe came in, he said he was a 7th year. So I was like, all right, I feel better.
Oh man. No, but so on the note of this past season, so you have that disappointing loss in the spring. You guys lose to Sam Houston, who eventually is the national championship team. It was a really good football team for them that year. But coming into this normal-ish fall season with a short off season, you guys started off really well, but then you had a little bit of a rough patch in the middle of the season where you had that close game against UNH, and then you lost to Villanova, and it felt like a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this JMU team is not as good as it's been in the past. And I'll admit, I think Sean and I broached that subject and we talked about it when that was happening. After that, though, you guys really went on a tear. You started to surge. What do you think was like the catalyst for that transformation in the middle of the season to the point where you guys ended up finishing off so close with North Dakota State?
Yeah, I think just kind of learning both offensively and defensively our strengths. I think we had a lot of new pieces in there. As far as we had a lot of running back injuries this year. So, starting a season, our running game was, really clicking. There was a little bit down through the middle of the season. It's a lot harder when they can, drop 8 in coverage. They don't have to worry about the run as much. And then kind of, figure out the offensive scheme that would work for us. We had a new quarterback coach, new offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, a guy from Alabama, Tino Sinceri, who, really, opened my eyes to the game of playing quarterback and taught me so much. So, I think having that loss in there kind of just made us kind of realign our mindset to, we're not going to win all these games if we just go out there and, kind of play half-heartedly. And we really got to focus on, the little things. So I think that really propelled us through kind of the end of the season and kind of pushed us harder to be, more perfect and focus on the little things. But by the end of the season, we were kind of figuring out, what worked for us offensively, getting guys in one-on-one coverage and really scoring points.
I think figuring it out is taking it a little lightly. You went on a damn near personal heater, back-to-back games of 5 and 6 touchdowns in the end of the season. What was going through your head? Because, I know it's a full team sport, but the quarterback touching the ball every play, you got to feel like you got a pretty good command over that whole offense when you're just dialed in like that.
Yeah, I think, obviously the classic quarterback answer, but you really can't get enough credit to some of our receivers that we had, Antoine Wells and Chris Thornton and Reggie Brown, a lot of those Scott Bracey, a lot of those guys who, when they get in one-on-one coverage, I completely trust them to go win and beat their matchup. So it was really, getting that good balance of pass and run back in our game and exploiting one-on-one coverage, which I think we saw, a lot of, man coverage or, just a lot of RPOs towards the end of the season that, we just get a lot of yards after catch possibilities. And so I can't give enough credit to our receivers who went out there and made the plays. I'm just the one who puts it in their hands.
Do you think that the just touch on the RPO thing, in some circles for like analysts and draft scouting, it's looked down upon as like an easy system for quarterbacks, and they feel like, oh, you're not really scanning the whole field. You just you make a couple reads, you make the decision. Do you feel like it's suited you well for next level football? Because we ran the system, we had a couple really good quarterbacks running it. Like, wow, this is an offense that we could really run and thrive in. And you saw it in the NFL also. Philly was running the hell out of it. Other teams started running the hell out of it. How do you think that is analyzed for the higher level football leagues, and do you think it's helped you going forward?
Yeah, I think obviously it helps your stats and stuff like that in college, but it won't transition as much. I think a little bit into the NFL, but not quite as much as you're going to use at the college level. I think you see like Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid kind of bringing it over and kind of getting that transition to kind of come to the NFL, but obviously you'll be a lot more, under center, classic, play action or straight concepts and quick game and stuff like that, rather than RPOs in the NFL. Just because the level of defense is so much better. But I really think it's suited us offensively, especially at the FCS level, to just take advantage of wherever that seventh defender was or whenever somebody's playing off coverage. Just take advantage of what the defense is giving you. To kind of, get free yards in a sense. So I think it suited us, but I totally understand when you won't be able to use that as much at the next level. So I think that's why I'm working on, my full skill set as I go into, this pre-draft training.
Talking on that transition and that pre-draft training, where are you doing that preparation and what quarterback coach are you working with during this?
Yeah, so I'm in Indianapolis. Right outside of Indianapolis with a guy named Anthony Morelli, with X Factor quarterback training. He was number one quarterback prospect coming out of high school, and he went to Penn State back in the 2000s, and then he ended up playing a couple of years in the NFL. And now, he's obviously running this. It's more suited towards high school kids, but I think he's got an incredible wealth of knowledge when it comes to understanding what it takes to get to the next level and NFL quarterback training.
Are you the only NFL draft prep guy working with him? Just you?
Yeah, there's a lot of younger guys that I can help teach as well, but it's nice to get that focus where just one guy with me, and there's a couple other guys who are training for the draft here, other positions, but I'm the only quarterback here, so it's kind of nice to get that one-on-one attention.
What made you pick going to Indianapolis? Was there a connection with him, or is it maybe your agent put that together?
Yeah, so my agent put that together. I had a couple of choices with different agents, but I thought this was the best plan as far as getting ready for the draft and be able to throw to 5 times a week and having a guy who understands the position I'm in. So really, that was the connection as my agent. Kind of had the connection here.
Cole, being from the CAA, I guess all three of us have been. Who was your least favorite team to play? I think us was UNH. Just absolutely hated playing them. Did you have a particular one that comes to the top of your mind?
I would say UNH at UNH. I think I've thrown 2 pick sixes in 10 years of football, and I think both of them are to UNH at UNH. So we always say we have some sort of curse playing up there for some reason. We always have a bunch of turnovers, and it just even this past year we had 3 turnovers, and we were turnover free before that. It just kind of went wrong, but
no, it's a weird spot.
It's a hard place to play. Yeah,
they got a track around the field. They got their scoreboard presented by Waste Management.
Beer garden.
It just doesn't make not a lot of it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So when you're up there, you're like, I don't know. They always got some receiver that's going off for $180 out of nowhere. It's always irritating playing UNH at UNH. So
yeah.
and talking on CAA teams, and one thing that popped up towards the end of the season for you guys, and it affects you a little bit less because you're now leaving, is that JMU is moving to the Sun Belt. They're going to be an FBS team. I'm always so curious how much current guys know about that happening. And I remember when I first got to Rhode Island, when we traveled to play you guys and we lost 80 to whatever it was, and that was one of my first starts. But I remember somebody saying oh, they're trying to move up to FBS. Is that something that you knew at the beginning when you came in, that this was coming, or were you maybe a little surprised when you found out?
Yeah. So initially when I first got there, or whatever, 6 years ago, obviously there was rumors about it. And I think we had maybe a rumor that potentially the Sun Belt a while ago, but I don't know if it fit what we wanted to do a while ago, back, in 2016 or whatever it was. But there was always kind of inklings about it. And then this year, I think more than ever, I heard a lot of people talking about it, and the chances with all the different realignment with people moving up from American and all that stuff. So there's going to be a bunch of different conferences having realignment. So I really didn't know too much ahead of time. That week, we kind of heard rumors of it. And then we knew a couple of days before it was announced, or a week before it was announced. But other than that, I didn't have too much insider info when that happened.
Right. I'm just curious on this too, because there was some pretty big pushback when we found out that the CAA wasn't going to let JMU's other sports compete in CAA championships. And I remember when Sean and I were playing, we were so ingrained with the athletic community with all the other sports, and we would see them in study hall and we would talk to them. What was the feel like maybe behind the scenes for some of these other athletic teams, when they found out that they couldn't compete for a championship?
Yeah, all of them were crushed. We kind of had a big meeting where he kind of announced it to all the athletics teams. Wow. And I know a lot of people were upset about it, and rightfully so. I think if I were to come back for my 6th year and I made a decision and then ended up not be able to compete in the playoffs or a conference championship, I think that would have changed your decision about potentially coming back. So going off of that, I crushed for them, and I know it's really hard, and I don't think it's the right decision. But obviously it's been done in the past, and the same thing happened. So I don't think we expected anything different from it, but it's obviously a hard situation.
Yeah, it was done in the past. I think it happened with ODU, and then people said it was a stupid rule then, but it's a rule. And then we had, 8 years to redo that and fix it, and it's still a stupid rule to punish teams for excelling, and then punishing other people that are not even directly affiliated with that team for excelling. It is a stupid rule. And I think we spent, 15 minutes talking about that. And I know a lot of people, I mean, even JMU alums just in real life were just texting me like, hey, what the hell is going on here? Why are they doing this? I'm like, it's a stupid rule. And I think that's what you got to chalk it up to. And I guess hopefully it gets fixed. But I don't know, these conferences can be rather selfish at times.
Yeah, I think it's even harder that you look at all the other conferences that are doing it and none of them have that rule, but we're the one conference. So it makes it even harder.
Right. Oh, cool. That's all we had for you today. Really appreciate you taking the time during your busy pre-draft schedule. And best of luck to you going forward with that opportunity to keep playing. And we're certainly going to be rooting for you. But thanks again, and have a great process preparing for the NFL.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And go Dukes.
Thanks, Cole.